is proof right here, guys. If you're watching this, you will not meet nicer people. Whoop, I'm going to point up.
I think I'm the only person who's ever written Star Wars for film, television, books, and comics.
Rogue One was awesome. I love the Han Solo movie, and then, of course, I love The Mandalorian.
It's like, that speaks Darklighter's helmet. So how did you know? Because I'm a nerd.
We cast you, and I told casting, I said, get Earl Brown to be Tonti. Holy shit, I've recreated Deadwood in space.
The galaxy isn't growing to push people out. It's growing to let more people come in and find their love so that it's able to continue and create this connective tissue.
There's Mark Hamill, there's Harrison Ford, there's Carrie Fisher. We're doing Star Wars.
Yeah, and the Rancor bit hit, and I went running out of the theater screaming my head off.
You know, and then you're just sitting with her as she's making dinner, you know, outside of an abandoned AT-AT, you know, at AT-AT, sorry.
I've placed information vital to the survival of the rebellion into the memory systems of this 2 unit.
You know, you have people like Favreau, Filoni, who are like, you know, super fans, like everyone on this Zoom.
Cassie and Jen on the beach, and people are like, no. I can literally hear people go, no.
But, you know, I mean, I was doing my research, and Wedge was obviously a character that you had to use.
Spears never left me again. We're such soulmates that her being older and me being older was exactly where we were meant to be.
Coming back to a show that I dearly love and admire, so thanks for having me.
Because Darth Vader was the scariest thing that had ever happened to anybody, and this guy literally looks like the devil.
You don't do that. There is no trying.
I have had the best time ever on Around the Galaxy. Thank you so much.
That was one of the greatest intros ever. That was awesome. Oh my gosh, I have found my home. I have found my people.
Well, welcome to ATG Live, your Thursday night home for all things Star Wars. I'm one of your hosts, Pete Fletzer, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host and good friend, Nick. Nick, how's it going, my friend?
Well, I notice you're still wearing that stupid hat, so I'm going to try and move on past the hat.
7.5 games, little slippage, but we're doing good. We're doing good.
And it was 5 games last Thursday, and I was feeling better about it being 5 games. And then you had to text me yesterday and rain on my parade and point out that it's jumped up 2.5. So here's the thing. The Braves are built for September. That's what we do. It's right around the corner. I'm excited, but I'm trying to move past that. So other than that, I'm fantastic. I'm excited to be here for another week of Star Wars news. I'm excited to talk to our guest. And also we have a Star Wars fantasy draft.
Yes.
It was an idea we had kind of kicked back and forth. I guess late last week we were doing other ideas because there's no shows on right now. So what do we do in our third segment? We like deep dives and other random things. And we both like sports and Star Wars. So why not have fun with it?
Absolutely. And we're going to be joined by a special guest to be part of our craziness. And so that should be a blast. And, you know, you did say there are no new shows coming out. And so before we hit the news, just want to touch on 2 things that came out real quick. And then we'll do our toast as we do. But allegedly, the Skeleton Crew trailer is supposed to drop tomorrow. The first
D23
at D23. It makes sense timing wise, I guess. If it's coming out in December, this feels like about the right time.
And I just noticed when I went to Twitter to post that the show has started, Hollywood Reporter posted a little quick 8-second video, new look at Star Wars skeleton crew on the show floor at D23. And there's a robot. And if I'm not mistaken, and I can't think of his name, but the pirate from Mando season 3 that I said would show up in skeleton crew that peeled off in the chase. I don't remember his name. I believe he's one of the ones in that little D23 floor display. So
nice.
That's exciting. I can't wait to see that.
I can't wait. And look, I also want to set expectations. People get so excited. They think, oh, D23, we're going to get 4,000 new Star Wars pieces of information. We're going to get a 3-minute trailer. No, I'll bet you it's 60 seconds or less. That's my prediction on that.
I'm going to say a minute and a half, but
all right. Yeah, but not a full trailer. But yeah, I'll say 60 seconds. You say 90 seconds, and maybe we can add that to the bets. No, we have to stop betting. It's a problem.
We keep getting ourselves into trouble.
But don't expect much more than that when it comes to Star Wars. Maybe a hint at Andor, but don't expect to see anything from that either.
I think a hint at Andor, and this is the one that I will, if we just, we like to take a wild swing every now and then.
Yeah.
I think a tease of what the next big animation project is going to be.
Yeah, actually,
we've seen that job posting for the production coordinator.
And there's an animation panel. There's an animation panel.
Yes.
So
I would love to see maybe a title card, something like that says, hey, we're working on. And of course, we've said my fingers are crossed for a Clone Wars style animation set between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. Give us some OT characters in that style. We've got the voice talent out there that could be, Leia, Luke, Han, Lando. I think that'd be fun.
That would be really cool. I'd love to see that. And before we get to our toast, we just want to put some good vibes out in the universe for Daisy Ridley, who in this month's Women's Health magazine talked about her battle with Graves' disease. So I am not an expert on what that does. It does cause fatigue and muscle issues and things like that. So very brave of her to come out and talk about that. And just loved her so much in the sequels, and just really want to see her get better. And if it means a delay in coming back to Star Wars, we'll wait for you. So
well, and it's fascinating too, because she's clearly dealing with this, but she's also not choosing projects where it's like, ooh, I'm going to play the president and sit at a desk.
Right.
Like the movie that just came out, The Young Woman in the Sea or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
It's about the English woman that swam the English Channel. Like she had to physically do that.
Yeah.
We know what she has gone through. We've seen the videos of the practice for these Star Wars movies as Rey, learning stunts. And I love I'm a sucker for behind the scenes, and the Rise of Skywalker behind the scenes footage and the special with the stunt coordinator and how much work that she put into doing all that. So this is somebody who is dealing with a real life struggle, but also, is determined to be the best at her craft. And, we've seen that in what we've seen her in. So that's cool.
Absolutely. Well, Nick, it wouldn't be an ATG Live without a toast. Toast.
Still makes me laugh every time. A literal toast in order for us to have a, drinking toast, because that's what we do here. We drink and we talk about things. My toast tonight goes out to one of our OG original friends. He's in the chat, or at least he was as of about 9 minutes ago. My toast this week goes to our friend Matt Harrington. Matt was probably our original Patreon supporter.
Yep.
He was early on, I know, with Around the Galaxy. He showed up early on with Podcast at the Wheels, a couple of our other friend shows. Matt's that guy that he's just there. He shows up in the chat. He hangs out. He doesn't want to get wrapped up in the nonsense. There he is right there. Matt, this one's for you tonight, buddy. He doesn't want to get wrapped up in the nonsense because he just loves Star Wars. And that's one of the things I love about him so much. He's not here for discourse and hatred and nonsense. He's just a dude that loves Star Wars. He's our age. He's our crew. He's our people. But if that wasn't enough, he does great things like stop people outside his kids' karate dojo as they leave the liquor store to ask them random men on the street questions about Star Wars. And he is incredibly, incredibly thoughtful. If you will notice over what I believe is my right shoulder on top of my new Biker Scout helmet, which I'm still pumped about, you will see a ball cap that says The West Wing on it. It is no secret on this show. In fact, if it's a drinking game, take a shot. My favorite TV show of all time is The West Wing. And last week I got a message from Matt on Twitter that said, "Hey, I sent you something in the mail." And when it came on Monday, I opened the box. It is a vintage West Wing hat from the NBC studio store that still has the tags on it, which means it's circa, late 90s, early 2000s. I also have some cool stickers. I just moved them. His wife made me some West Wing stickers, and it's that just thoughtful, like, he knows I love West Wing, and he's like, "Hey, I want to send this dude something." I know he did that for you several years ago. You talked about the board game that your dad, created, and you wrote the questions for, and Matt went out to eBay or wherever and found a copy of the game and sent it to you. Like,
yeah, it's wild. Yeah,
it's that kind of stuff. It's that kind of stuff that, we love Matt. We love his support. We love that he's always here, supporting us, being a part of the ATG family. So my toast tonight is to our friend Matt from Enid, Oklahoma.
Yes.
I mean, Matt from Enid, that's how it's like a sports talk radio call-in show. Matt from Enid, you're on the clock. So
first time,
Matt,
long
this
time.
one's for you, buddy. Cheers and happy Star Wars.
Happy Star Wars. Yeah, Matt, when I saw Twisters, they were talking about how the storms were moving toward Enid, and I was like, I hope Matt's okay. Don't show me a movie where they blow up Matt's town. I don't want to see that.
Exactly.
But yeah, cheers to you, Matt. Well, there are a couple news stories. We have Kelsey Puckett coming up in a couple minutes, and then after Kelsey, she's going to stick around with us, and we're going to do our live fantasy sports ball draft. We'll give you all the details on that in just a minute. But first, a couple news stories.
All right. First up, so during the promotional tour for Deadpool and Wolverine, easy for me to say, which I did see. I've actually seen it a couple times. It's great. It's
You've seen it more than once. Nice.
I've seen it twice. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Director Sean Levy has been dropping hints about his upcoming Star Wars project. And Pete, we talked about this the other week. We didn't necessarily know there was a Star Wars project. Like, this is kind of news. Yeah. It wasn't one of the announced James Mangold or whatever the other projects were.
Yep.
But it was pretty confident and said pretty boldly and publicly. So he was recently on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast with Josh Horowitz, which Josh Horowitz is one of those people that's also on my list that we need to get on this show. I love what he does on Happy, Sad, Confused. But Sean Levy was on, and he was asked if he's writing the film with specific actors in mind. Surprised by the question, Levy responded with teasing, sort of yes. Please don't ask a follow-up. He's like, I can't get into it. He's feeling it in the moment. But a few weeks earlier, journalist Jeff Schneider had speculated in his newsletter that Levy's Star Wars movie might feature Rey Skywalker, the recently mentioned Daisy Ridley. And there has been no official word on her involvement other than the Charmin Obaid-Chinoy movie that we know is coming and is, I think, starting production or ramping up. So Levy's cryptic response has only fueled further speculation. Now, he had been asked about this, and this was the story we talked about a couple weeks ago. He also opened up about his approach to the film, emphasizing his desire to explore new territory within the Star Wars universe. He said, quote, "I don't want to make a Star Wars movie that feels redundant or exists to serve another film. I want to create something that feels true to my vision with themes like the Force connection and the power within us," end quote. So that's all the details we have about this film. There's no release date. There's no title. There's really no confirmation that he's doing it other than he's talking
other
about
than him saying he is.
Yeah, but it seems pretty solid. In the meantime, we know that the most kind of pressing film thing is the Mandalorian and Grogu film, I believe, has started filming. We heard about the pickups maybe with Pedro out of a helmet before he gets busy with Fantastic Four and all that kind of stuff. So, Pete,
yeah,
Sean Levy movie. Do you want it to involve Rey? Do you want to, branch off into another corner of the galaxy? What do you want to see in something like this?
It's funny. I was watching. I've said it before. I don't watch a lot of Star Wars, believe it or not. I watch it when it comes out, but I don't sit on the couch and throw in whatever. But yesterday, because I just did my Lego sitting right back there, and I created a nice playlist of Star Wars music, and I was listening to the Solo soundtrack. And last night I decided to watch Solo, and it struck me, I want to see a movie like on Corellia or someplace we know, but without characters that we know. I don't want something that's got that sort of galactic sort of, implications. Just give me a fun story. And I think based on what I've seen him do with Wolverine and Deadpool and the other things he's been involved in, I'd love to see him go there. Have him take us there. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, well, it's kind of the Tatooine question and the Skywalker question. Like, at what point, how many Star Wars stories do we need that involve these two very specific things? Because, as I believe Billy Bob Thornton said in Armageddon, it's a big ass sky or it's a big ass galaxy. There's a lot out there. There's a lot of places that it could go, but it could go somewhere familiar like Corellia.
Yeah.
Without having to be about Han Solo. It could go somewhere like Kessel, but not being about, the Kessel Run. There's a lot of ways to go with it. And again, based on what he's done and his, track record with films, and especially, and this is the other thing I love too, is it's what we talk about a lot. He seems to be a Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
And so I think the passion driving whatever this project could be is what's going to really make it a home run.
Absolutely. And I think that's what they need. And look, whether you like the Acolyte or not, there's no denying that Leslie Headland was a huge Star Wars fan, and it showed in the story we got. So speaking of stories we got and stories we didn't got, recently, Justin Simeon, the director behind the once highly anticipated Lando series for Disney Plus, has confirmed that the project will not be moving forward. In an interview with Collider, Simeon revealed that the series, which was set to star Donald Glover as Lando Calrissian, had been in an advanced stages of development, complete with concept art, scripts, a production bible, the whole thing. And despite this, the project seems to have been ultimately shelved. Now, Simeon, who is currently promoting his MGM Plus docuseries Hollywood Black, expressed his deep disappointment over the cancellation. I think a lot of us feel that way. He likened the experience to a process of grief, stating, "I have let myself feel those feelings. There's so much that I experience that I get to keep forever and take into the next project." The Lando series was first announced way back in 2020, with Glover's portrayal of the character in Solo: A Star Wars Story garnering widespread praise. The reasons behind the project's demise remain unclear, but Simeon is already looking ahead. He's set to work on a live-action Star Trek comedy series starring Tawny Newsome, marking another significant step in his career. Nick,
yes,
I hate to say it, but I think it's time we move on past Make Solo 2 happen and past let's get this Lando series. As much as I love the Solo movie, again, watched it the other night, and you know what? I think I liked it even more having been away from it for so long. It's just such a fun freaking movie.
It is.
But I don't think a Solo. Look, they set it up perfectly for a Solo 2, but I don't think we need it. Alden Ehrenreich is going to be Harrison Ford's age pretty soon. Glover is not going to be young Lando that much longer. And I don't, as we were just saying, let's see stories in different parts of the galaxy. I think Solo earned a sequel, but I also feel like, and I hate to put it this way, because it sounds like I'm buying into some of the negative hype, but the reality is numbers speak. And it doesn't matter that we all know that it went up against Avengers, that it went up against Deadpool, that it had virtually the shortest ramp up in promotion of any Star Wars film. It didn't perform. And I think that's going to have a number of the bean counters a little bit concerned about going down that path. Again, I don't think that's having the direct impact on the Lando series, but I do think it plays into it. It plays into that time period and those characters. They're maybe concerned that the world isn't as excited about it as maybe the us group on Twitter is. What do you think?
The nostalgic part of me wants this something, movie, series, whatever it is. And I've said, a couple different times, I want it to be Billy D sitting in a chair, relaxed, covered in a cape, saying, "I remember the time I did this thing." And then the magic little, like Wayne's World. And then all of a sudden we're flashback to younger Lando as Donald Glover doing the adventure story, whatever it is. I do think time is ticking away. We've heard not a lot. We've heard some other things. Donald Glover is stepping away from Childish Gambino and his music career. He's ready to kind of move on from that. We've got this other movie that's coming out, which looks great, or the album. I mean, I'm excited to check that out because I've enjoyed the stuff that he's done, but at some point you kind of have to go, has the movement passed us by?
I think,
and I don't want it to have passed us by, but I think you might be right. I think it might be, we're right on that edge. There's still time, but there's not a lot of time left.
And look, I know the entire internet loves Make Solo 2 happen, and I support it 100%. It's a fun thing for the fans to get behind. It's a fun little thing for people to, sort of put the hashtag in and go with it. But I think Star Wars has to move forward or into different parts of the galaxy. And maybe that's part of the signal that this Lando show being postponed or put to bed is giving us. So, well, that wraps up for our news section of the week. We are going to take a real quick break. And when we get back, you've seen two of the three members of Never Tell Me the Odds on the show. I think we're going to get the third. We got to get the third. But we also saw all of them as part of Podathon. Now we're going to see the person who makes that show tick. In just a little bit, we're going to take a real short break, but when we come back, we're going to be joined by ESPN's Kelsey Puckett. Look at that. We were just on the screen in the commercial. Now we're on the screen after the commercial.
Just like that.
We're back. It's Nick. It's Pete. And we are talking Star Wars as we do every Thursday night. We bring you the news. We bring you the conversation. We bring you something fun, a deep dive, whatever. But tonight we have a guest who is not just staying for her section, just her little interview area. We're also going to drag her into our madness in our fantasy draft. But let's, without further ado, let's bring in our guest, Kelsey Puckett. There she is.
Hey guys.
Hello there.
What's up?
Hey, hello there.
Excellent.
Do you think
Welcome
Art is
to the
going to be
show.
mad at me for saying that you're the reason that show ticks? Because I don't care what he says. I'm believing it's you at this point. It's got to be you.
I mean, I feel like he respects me enough to know how much that I make the show run. So
There you go.
He gets it.
Take
He
it
gets
and run
Smart
with it.
man.
It's yours. There you go.
yeah, I don't know, like Arda was like basically the main reason I got into the show. So I think he understands that everything that I do for the show is very important.
Well, I'm going to send him this
That's
little
right.
clip when we're done.
The producer is the glue. The producer is the one that keeps it going. Well, we want to get into that. We want to get into how you got connected up with those guys. Before we do that, obviously, you're a behind the scenes person. We were talking about that before we got on air. Tell everybody a little bit about who you are, what Kelsey does.
Okay, yeah. I'm Kelsey Puckett. I'm vice president of the Grand Admiral Thrawn fan club at ESPN. I'll go ahead and relieve president to Arda. It's fine. I mean, I have a Thrawn tattoo. He doesn't.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I mean, you might be able
So
to.
is he really committed?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I might be more committed, but he did paint himself blue for the bit. So we'll
This
just
is
have
true.
to like let that go.
True.
But yeah, no, I've produced stories for ESPN, for UFC, football, basketball, some other sports in my time with the company, including some pieces that have crossover with athletes with Star Wars and Marvel. That's also a big reason why I got involved in this. I graduated from Michigan State, which is the same university as Thrawn creator Timothy Zahn. So yeah, I mean, kind of had that kindred spirit there. And then when I'm not watching or playing soccer, you can find me like sipping a fuzzy tauntaun at Oga's Cantina.
Nice.
Nice.
Love it.
That's fantastic. So tell us a little bit about your Star Wars origin story. How did you when did you discover Star Wars? And it's interesting because there is this sort of this generation. You didn't have to go through when Nick and I were younger, because we're a little bit older. You can tell by the colors of our beards. Star Wars was the dudes thing. It was the guys thing. And what we're hearing from folks like yourself is it didn't matter. But so tell us a little bit about how you got into Star Wars and when you got into Star Wars.
I mean, saying it's a dude's thing, I mean, I saw Princess Leia on the screen as a child and I was like, that's my girl. So
yeah. Yep.
That's kind of funny to me. But no, I actually got into Star Wars because of Harrison Ford. My first intro into Lucasfilm was through Indiana Jones.
Yes.
I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan. I had a Indiana Jones themed bedroom growing up.
Oh,
as a child, yeah,
you're in the right place.
Whips, snakes, the hat, it was all there. And then I grew up in Southern California, so I got to go on the Indiana Jones ride quite a bit.
Yeah.
I always insisted in driving, because I mean that's the only spot you want to be in. It's the best vantage point from that ride. I feel like it's kind of the same way when you go to Galaxy's Edge and you're riding the Millennium Falcon. You always have to be the pilot.
Yeah,
it's the best vantage point. But, yeah, I got into Star Wars because of my love for Harrison Ford, actually, and my next door neighbors in Southern California, their dad was like, hey, so you like Harrison Ford, you might like Han Solo. And so I watched the original trilogy, became hooked, and then I was a child when the prequels came out, so it was just kind of all over for me, seeing Darth Maul and I don't know, the lightsaber battles in the prequels, hooked me as a kid. I think it's more of a nostalgia thing, whereas as I watch them as an adult, I see some of the complaints that older fans have, but
yeah,
it's just I don't know, I enjoyed them so much as a kid, I can't really be mad at any of the faults.
It really is hard to be upset about anything Star Wars. I mean, it's Star Wars. I did, though, just before we went online, somebody posted something like, are you a person who nitpicks Star Wars, or are you a person that loves all Star Wars? And I felt like I had to say it. I mean, none of us really love every single thing. Nick and I talk a lot about the Resistance cartoon. It was a cool show, but I don't love it. If it disappeared tomorrow, I wouldn't miss it. But but there's that moderate. There's no reason to bitch about things you don't like, which is what we say all the time.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah, I mean, even as I'm an adult now, and I enjoyed the Rebels cartoons. I loved the Clones cartoons. I thought all of those were really good.
Yeah,
but I don't necessarily like some of the Young Jedi adventures or whatever. That's just not my thing. So I understand that vantage point.
Yep, for sure.
And that becomes exactly it. Not say it too many times. Another one of our drinking games is, I'm Gen X, I'm old, I grew up with the original trilogy, I've done all these things. Star Wars Rebels is one of my favorite Star Wars things, period. And I'm not the target audience for that. Right. But I came to it later, and it's one of my favorite Star Wars story. Kanan Jarrus. I only own one actual lightsaber, and it's Kanan's. And I waited for it to be available at Galaxy's Edge, and a friend of mine got it and sent it to me. That story means so much to me, but I wasn't the one that was originally, I guess, technically written for. But it doesn't matter, because you like what you like, and you don't what you don't.
I mean, how could you not with Kanan, though? I mean, I bawled as an adult watching him die on screen.
It still gets me.
Yeah.
If somebody posts that clip on Twitter, I'm done. Yeah. It's over. It still works.
Yeah, no, it's same way for me. It just every time, still goosebumps, tears, everything.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Kelsey, we became aware of you obviously through our friends Arda and Clinton and Ryan McGee at Never Tell Me the Odds, the official ESPN Star Wars podcast. We have had Clinton and Arda have been on with us. Ryan was on with us for Potathon, our charity event that we did back on May the 4th. I'm still playing tag with him. We're going to get him on for an official Around the Galaxy long form interview. We're working on that. But tell us about, obviously you work at ESPN, you know these guys, but it's fun because for anybody that's watching, if you don't know, Never Tell Me the Odds, it's 3 guys who work at ESPN from very different parts of ESPN. You've got a hockey guy, you've got a baseball guy, you've got a NASCAR and college football guy who all love Star Wars and come together and get to have, the official ESPN Star Wars podcast, which as me, somebody who loves sports and nerdy stuff, like it's the nexus, it's the perfect whatever. And you get to produce that. Tell us about getting involved with that, some of the fun and the experiences of, what you do with the show.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because so they had basically gotten to the starting point with Never Tell Me the Odds before I got there. And I basically had talked to Arda about being a huge Thrawn fan, and I think we were texting back and forth about that. And he told me about this project, and I immediately was in. I mean, I was like, Star Wars is kind of my thing. I mean, I'm covered in Star Wars tattoos. It's one of my favorite fandoms, and that was an easy sell for me. I had known Arda before this because I did a couple of cool pieces with them. One of them being a Bruce Lee piece that we ran on ABC during the pandemic. And yeah, that one was awesome. I mean, that was kind of Arda and I's love of martial arts and combat kind of coming together and putting something cool together. And then I had actually known our executive producer, Aaron, through doing other synergy projects. I've actually shot at Galaxy's Edge a couple times for work. And then I've done some Mandalorian sports crossovers, so it was just kind of an easy fit for me, and the podcast has been a blast, and I can't complain about going to work and talking Star Wars. I mean, it's just kind of the dream.
Yeah, it is. And I have to say, I think I put this on Twitter the other week. At this point, we've had an episode where McGee is in the car. We've had an episode where Arda's in the car. Now I'm just waiting for the episode in the trifecta where Clinton has to record in the car because there's something going on. And but it's so fun. It's so fun that y'all get to connect and to have these people from different areas and to tie sports and Star Wars together. Like y'all just did the ESPN, the Ocho episode and, talking about sports and Star Wars. And that was amazing. Not only to get to listen to it, but again, it was on TV and I was like, hey, there's my friends. I know these people and they're doing what we love, sports and Star Wars at the same time.
Yeah, I'm also shout out, I've got a Loth cat just hanging out back here. Sorry about that.
We like it.
Yeah, I couldn't move her perch. She gets very territorial. But yeah, we've got Nebula right there. It's pretty cool. I mean, the Ocho episode was a huge win for us. Being able to be I don't know a lot of podcasts that get on linear TV. I mean, that's kind of awesome.
Right.
And the fact that I got basically all of my friends in there to do a 30-minute show and see it unfold on TV was pretty awesome. I was actually in Vegas watching it just on all the casino TVs because I was out there for a shoot. So it was kind of awesome seeing just something that I worked very hard on go on air.
It was very cool. I was in Dick's Sporting Goods buying my son's football gear, and I get a text from my dad who watches the show a lot, and he's like, that Arda guy, they're doing their show on ESPN. I'm like, I know, I can't believe I'm missing it. That's great. So between that and some of the shoots you've gotten to do, what are some of your favorite sort of experiences through doing Never Tell Me the Odds?
I feel like all of us right now would point to our Florida trip. I mean, we got to go shoot in Galaxy's Edge. I mean, a couple of us had already been there before Arda had, and seeing Arda kind of melt down into child level excitement was one of my favorite things ever. I don't know, it just seeing people that are really passionate about like this like product and just being able to see it like kind of in a giant full scale. I mean, I don't know if either of you have been, but like see like driving under an AT-AT like in one of the rides and you see how big it is, it just takes you to like a level of fandom that you just don't know existed before you saw it.
Yeah.
So I think like our Florida trip, I think, yeah, I don't know, like the Ocho thing was kind of a labor of love, like, and the amount of fans that reached out and said they're a fan of our show because of that made me super happy. I'm excited for like projects that we kind of have in the works. I'm hoping some of this stuff happens. I know we have some boots on the ground at D23 where I'm excited to see what comes out of that too.
Yeah, are you ready for Skeleton Crew? And all right, this is a personality test, Kelsey. Real quick, are you more excited about Skeleton Crew or Andor season 2?
Probably Andor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. This sounds
the known
bad.
quantity, right?
I'm not a big kids person. So like I mean I'm very excited. I love the Goonies, like, and I love a lot of that like nostalgic like child actor stuff. I don't know how I'm gonna feel watching it as an adult.
Yeah, that's fair.
Makes
because
sense.
some of those things I really loved as a child, and I don't know, it's tough. I'm more excited about Andor probably.
For sure. Yep.
I love that. Well, I want to ask you this question. Obviously, Pete and I are old guys. There's a little bit of a generational difference between the two of us and you. But as we've established, there are doors and windows and whatever it is into Star Wars for everybody. Do you see in your experiences some of those generational differences? Do you know other Star Wars fans, maybe your age, that are like, yeah, we're kind of Disney folks, those original old ones with the old guys? You grew up with the old ones, obviously Harrison Ford and, you know, all that stuff. But how do you see some of that playing out as a Star Wars fan yourself?
I kind of feel like I'm in like that weird intersection where I love all the old stuff and I love the prequels, and then I kind of understand why there was the backlash for the prequels as the sequels came out. There's a lot of stuff about the sequels I really love, and like I mean like I find like very like weird things funny, like in the sequels, basically when Babu Frick screams like hey hey in the back, like that's what I live for, that kind of dumb stuff like that. But I think basically I'm more of I watch Star Wars just to have fun. I'm not overly critical, and I feel like a lot of the older generation is like the only Star Wars is these 3 movies and that's it, and they're very like kind of stuck in the mud on it, where I'm like, no, like there's a lot of fun to be had in this universe, and I don't know why like more people don't see it that way, because it's for entertainment. You don't have to like care if you like everything, if you dislike things. I don't know, it just people are very serious about it when it should just be fun.
That to me is always the thing that strikes me. I even saw somebody was complaining about the way I haven't watched the Lord of the Rings show on Amazon. I hear it's great, but I love the movies, but I haven't watched that. I just wasn't inspired to watch it. But there were people complaining about the way she's like holding the bow, and I had to respond to somebody saying like, it's fantasy. If you don't like the show, that's okay. Right. But like, it doesn't matter how she's holding the bow. I mean, maybe it's because the Olympics are on and people are like, no, you're supposed to hold it with the tip. I don't know what it was, but I agree with you 100%. And look, Nick and I grew up on the original trilogy. We were prequel, both of us didn't love the prequels when they first hit because it was new and it was different. And yet now, Nick and I are big fans of just about, as we said earlier, if you were watching earlier, like you don't have to love everything. But we love a lot of it. We love the majority of it and we have fun with it. And we don't, there's no sense in spending time talking about the things you don't love.
Well, and it goes back to my big thing. And you kind of said it already too, Kelsey, which is, if you don't like it, who's forcing you to keep watching it? Like at this point with Disney Plus, it's all right there at your fingertips. Pick the ones you like and move on. You know, turn the dial. If this one isn't your jam, turn to the next one. I don't understand why we end up in these places, but again, fandoms do that. And like you said, Pete, somebody can lose your mind about the bow and arrow or the tint of their outfit or, you know, whatever the thing. It's okay. Let's just keep going. There's other problems in the world.
Exactly. Well, Kelsey, you have blindly agreed to hang out with us and be part of our our fantasy draft. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna start that off. We're gonna kick that off. But before we do, tell people where they can follow you and keep up with you on the interwebs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to do this. This is like the draft thing is kind of like what we do. Like, I feel like that's our specialty on Never Tell Me the Odds. So I feel like we're well versed in this already. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram with the handle at Kelsey Puck, KelseyPuck. And then follow all the stuff we're doing with Never Tell Me the Odds if you like Star Wars and sports. I mean, it's a lot of fun.
It's as Nick said, it's such a great combination. And the reality, you know, look, when we do the show, I have to pinch myself sometimes because we do get to talk to some of the people that we like who are creators and whatnot. But to have become, you know, friendly with Clinton and Arda, and it just, I mean, it's such a pinch me moment because they also kind of remind Nick and I that, hey, being a sports nut and a Star Wars nut they're not strange bedfellows. They actually can work together, and there's a lot of fun to be had there. So, all right, well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, it is time for our fantasy sports ball draft. Well, welcome back to ATG Live, your Thursday night home for all things Star Wars. We keep up with the Star Wars news of the week, and you know, we try to share some of it so you don't have to, and maybe you can stay off of Twitter and not get irritated and pissed off at stupid things. But you know, every week we do some news. We have a guest, and this week we've been joined by Kelsey Puckett from ESPN, the producer of Never Tell Me the Odds. And this week we are we're doing something a little bit different. We are doing our Star Wars fantasy draft, and we're going to tell you a little bit about what that is all about here. But we're going to get to that right now. You know, when I hit run on that, I just realized, I'm like, we have a producer from ESPN on the show. She's probably like, if these guys do one more damn bumper,
run another damn video.
You know, I kind of appreciate like the amount of like production quality that goes into it. I'm not gonna lie, it's all
right. We just can't help ourselves. We can't help it. So, I'm going to put up the rules and what's going on here. So, for our first annual fantasy sports ball draft, we're each going to pick one player per position, and Nick, those positions are, if I have it right here, we have a pilot, a rebel, a smuggler, a Jedi, a Sith, a bounty hunter, an Imperial, a droid, a type of trooper, any Star Wars creature, and the defense will be a ship, any ship that you want. We are going to, each week, we're going to pit one of those positions against each other, and we're going to have our friends on Twitter vote as to which one is their favorite. So keep that in mind when you're doing your picks, whoever the favorite is. Then the points awarded will be equal to the percentage of votes won. So if Kelsey picks the Millennium Falcon and it's the ship week, and Millennium Falcon gets 67% of the votes, she's getting 67 points that week. At the end of the season, the most points wins. And in this case, at this point, I think it's just bragging rights. But we'll see how this year goes, see how this season goes. Let me see if I can actually get our draft board up here on the screen, see if I have enough talent to do that. Ooh, look at that. That's very big. There we go. All right, I'm going to increase the size of that because that's very hard to read. Let's see here. Can I increase? Oh, that's a little too big. Here we go. Is that better?
There you go. That's visible. I can dig that.
All right. So here's the deal. You can pick at any position you want. We have the draft order here on the side. But Kelsey, before you get the first pick, we're giving you pick number 1. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 3, 1, 2. Don't worry about it. We'll go in that order you say on the side. Kelsey, did you give any thought to a punny or clever name? Like, for example, Nick, your team name is what?
I am Team Gen X-Wing.
Okay, right. And I'm Pete Fletzer, so I'm going with Boba Fletz as the name of my team. Kelsey, what do you got? Do you have a name?
Yeah, I kind of went with the mothership theme. Like, ESPN's called the mothership. So from the biggest, baddest sports network in the galaxy, we're the Bristol Banthas.
I love that.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Excellent.
Cool. All right. So, Kelsey, here's the deal. You can pick any position, once somebody's out, they're out. As you know, many of our favorite Star Wars characters can fall into multiple categories. One little caveat, Sidious and Palpatine are one person, as is Anakin and Vader. So if you pick Anakin as a Jedi, he's out.
He's off
as
the
an
table.
Imperial and a Sith. He's off the table. So, Kelsey, with the first pick in the inaugural draft, what do you got?
All right. Well, I'm going to apologize to both of you. I'm definitely taking Han Solo number 1.
Okay.
This is an easy pick for me. Like, the charisma of Harrison Ford as Han Solo is kind of what got me into Star Wars. And he remains to this day as my favorite character. I'm going to take him as a pilot because he's an incredible pilot. He's scrappy and, like, ultimately he's a survivor. Plus, I've got him right there on my arm.
Look at that.
That's very cool.
So. That's my mascot.
That's awesome. I love that. Okay, cool. So Han Solo is the first pick as a pilot. That's a really good one because that was going to be.
That's a worthwhile number 1 overall pick.
I think so. I think so because he falls into Smuggler, he falls into Rebel, he falls into all of it. Okay, I have to. I think I have to go with for Rebel. I'm going to pick a Rebel here, and I am going to pick Princess Leia because again, as I think about the voting of people when we put that out there, who's your favorite Rebel? I have her on the wrong team. People are gonna be a big fan of Leia. So from a points perspective, I got to go Leia. I think she's a good pick, and that's what I'm going with for my number 2 pick.
Again, number 1's across the board. It's a tough way to land. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to the top of the category.
Yep.
I'm the guy that you're in your regular fantasy football draft and people are starting out with like receivers and running backs and whatever. I'm like, no, I'm going straight to like, what's my number 1 defense? So that's a kicker. I'm jumping down the list.
Okay.
So I'm going Droid. This isn't going to be a huge surprise to anybody because right here, left shoulder, I have an entire shelf full of the literal best character in all of Star Wars. R2-D2 is my droid. He's my number 1 pick.
All right. R2-D2 is your number 1 pick.
Yep. Got to do it.
Good call. What are your thoughts on that pick, Kelsey? Any thoughts on that one?
I mean, yeah, he was number 1 on my droid board, so I understand taking that off. I mean, he's the best, so I get it.
All right. So the way this works, now we're going to go 2, 3, 1, and since I was number 2, I get to go. I'm going to go with Sith, and I am going to go with Darth Vader to take both him and Anakin off the board. I think that's a safe pick for Sith, and I'm happy with it. And again, he could have gone in pilot, he could have gone in Jedi, he could have gone in Imperial, but I have made him impossible to pick at this point. So,
Nick, is it me? Okay, cool. I'm gonna go ahead. We're gonna keep these categories going. I'm not ready to repeat yet. I'm jumping into trooper type, and this is a tough one because there's a lot of great troopers out there. You could have your clones, your Shore, your Death Trooper, and this is a tough one for me because I spent a lot of last week, having a big party over my Biker Scout Trooper helmet that I just got in the mail, unboxing that, setting it up in the background. But I am 100% a classic Stormtrooper guy. It's my number one original trilogy, classic Stormy. That's my man.
Yeah. I think that was certainly going to be my Trooper pick if Trooper was still on the board, but it's a good one. It's a good one.
You're all welcome.
We're taking it off there. All right, Kelsey, we're back to you now.
All right. Just because I just want to get the best Jedi out there before that's off the board, I'm going to go with Yoda.
Whoa.
I mean, how do you not go with Yoda? He's been around forever. He knows everything that's gone on. I mean, that's got to be like number one overall Jedi.
Okay. Interesting. He's he's been around forever, and who knows what he actually knew at the end of the Acolyte. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Nick, the way this draft works, it is now on to you.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to make you, this pick is going to be a little bit designed for what I think is a good pick. It's also going to be a little bit designed to put you on the clock and make you sweat a little bit at some point. I'm going to follow Kelsey up with a Jedi pick also.
Okay. All right.
And I'm going Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, give me Alec Guinness, give me Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan. And here's the thing. I'm not going to lie. If I were to do a cosplay, it would be Clone Wars armor, General Kenobi, because I feel like with the beard and the hair, I could almost pull that off.
Yeah.
But here's maybe one of the things I love the most about Obi-Wan Kenobi, and we see it multiple times throughout his time in this series.
Yeah.
When things are happening, what does he do? He goes to the bar and gets a drink. He's like, I'll be up here getting a drink. I'll deal with the death stick guy. You go investigate this shit. Obi-Wan's my guy. Like, that's just the way it is.
That's a good one. Or as shockingly as I used to think of you as our Obi-Wan on the show, but after Greg Grunberg called you Chewbacca Beard, that's what you'll always be to
Chewbacca
me,
Beard. That's okay too.
You will pour me a bourbon.
Correct. Yes, you will get me another bourbon.
You will. Get me another drink. All right, Kelsey, you are back on the board.
All right, this one's important to me. I had to get him off the board before you guys did. So my Imperial has to be Grand Admiral Thrawn. I mean, he's probably like top two characters for me. It goes back and forth between him and Han Solo. I love just kind of the complexity of his character and like how smart he is, and the fact that basically nobody's going to outwit him in the galaxy. And I think Arda would be mad at me if I didn't pick him like any lower. So
that one is more of a job security pick. I understand. That's
totally.
Well, and I want to ask this question, and I thought about it before, but now that you mentioned that as the importance of this pick, as a Star Wars fan, have you read the Thrawn books as well? Okay,
yeah,
so
I've read all 6 of the original Thrawn ones that Timothy Zahn put out, and then I've read I've back read the ones that are non-canon too.
Correct. And that was going to be my question, because I grew up in, being that age of Star Wars fan who kind of went through what we called the dark times between the original trilogy and the prequels. That original Timothy Zahn trilogy, Heir to the Empire, all that stuff. Like, I love those books to this day. They're some of my favorite Star Wars books, period. And so I wondered if you had feelings about those 3 versus the newer ones. I have not read all the newer ones myself, but how do they stack up for you?
I kind of feel like the Thrawn that we're seeing on screen now, and even during Rebels, is more of the Thrawn from like the Heir to the Empire Thrawn, because the ones in his newer 6 books, like, he's more sympathetic. He's a lot more like shades of gray, and you kind of empathize with his point of view a lot more than you would have in the older books. So I don't know. very interesting character to me, but always like the intelligence is what draws me in, like, and
the
just
art
how
and stuff,
witty
that
he
was
is.
always what got me in those original 3. He was talking about the culture and the art and the whatever, and then you get that in Rebels when he's on, you know, Hera's planet and he's got the Calicori and he's like, this is what this is about, and the pieces in the office, like that to me connected those pieces together. I was like, oh, I know this guy. I know who, you know, who this bad guy is.
Yeah, I'm clearly like very like artistically like driven with like I work in a creative field, so I mean that also appeals to me. I get that for sure.
Love
That's
that.
great. That's cool. Well, there are Imperials that I'm interested in drafting, but I can't since he's still on the board right now. I have to jump in on Bounty Hunters, and I have to take the original, the OG, the numero uno, the best, most feared galaxy bounty hunter in the galaxy, the number one, Boba Fett, who we all loved in 1980 when we saw the action figure and had no idea what he was about. And I'm going to say, if I can be a little more specific, I'm picking specifically for the Boba Fett that showed up in The Mandalorian, in the half Tusken Raider, half Boba
the
Fett
Robert
armor,
Rodriguez episode
that just beat the shit out of the stormtroopers, man. Just that's the Boba Fett that's
what we had heard about all
correct.
growing up. The most feared bounty hunter in the galaxy.
Exactly. Okay, so we're 3 picks each so far. So far, Kelsey's got Han Solo. She's got Yoda in the Jedi slot, the only slot that's got more than one pick, and she's got Big Blue, Grand Admiral Thrawn. Nick's got Obi-Wan for his Jedi. For his droid, he's got R2, and for the trooper type, he's got the classic Stormtrooper. I have basically clearly I haven't gotten out of 1977 through 1983 because I've got Leia, I've got Vader, and I've got Boba Fett. We're watching the chat. We want to hear what you have to say and what you think about our picks. But we've worked our way around back to the top of the draft, which means that Kelsey, you are up.
All right, I think I need to still pick someone in Rebel, so I'm gonna go with Hera. I mean Hera, I love the Rebel series, and like I kind of feel like she's that motherly figure that, like, I don't know, I feel like a sense of comfort when I go to her, and like she's also an amazing pilot. So now I've got 2 great pilots on my team. I can't really complain about that pick.
That's true. And with Grand Admiral Thrawn telling them where to go, you're going to do just fine. Absolutely. That's a good one. All right. Well, that leads to me. And I got to go ship. And in sticking with my 1977 through 1983 theme, I am going with the Millennium Falcon because is there another ship in the galaxy? I don't think so. So I have to fill up with that. I know, believe me, I do enjoy a lot of the newer Star Wars. It's hard to believe based on this, but yeah, I'm going with the Millennium Falcon, and the Harrison Dula kind of reminded me to look at the ship because I really love Hera's ship, but I had to go. It was a difficult discussion here in the draft room, and the scouts went with the Millennium Falcon. So, Nick, we are on you.
We are, and I am jumping in. I'm filling in another category. We don't have anybody yet. It's Smuggler time.
Oh,
we talked about it. We referenced it during news time. This is Lando Calrissian all day, every day. Old school, vintage pick, MVP. Like, this guy's winning the league. He's likable. He can do a good press conference, and he gets it done on the field. So I'm going Lando for my Smuggler.
I like Lando for a Smuggler, especially with Han off the board. Lando is kind of the natural next pick.
Yep.
So, well, we've hit every topic, every category except creature, and I have to use this as my chance to go there. Or you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go with Jedi, and. Okay. Am I? Yeah, I guess no. There's a big debate. Look, I just watched on HBO the Hard Knocks front office with the Giants. I'm a Giants guy. I know Phillies and Giants is a weird combination, but I'm able to live with it. I'm going to go Droid, and I'm going to go Chopper. Even though my favorite droid is K2SO, I feel like Chopper is going to add more value to my team. He's going to get me more votes in the week-to-week competition, and it doesn't hurt to have Chopper on your team. And I did need to represent sort of that new Rebels and Beyond era on my team. So Chop joins the Boba Fett's team here. So Nick, we're on to you.
Well, I'm going to pick up what you started to step in there just for a second, and I'm going to jump into the creature category. There's one creature. It's weird. It's awkward. The stop motion animation of it all in 1980 in Empire Strikes Back made me go, yeah, I feel like I need one of those. And I don't care what it smells like on the inside or the outside. We're throwing the Tauntaun in the category for my creature pick.
I love it. I love the Tauntaun.
I need a weird 2-foot space horse to be, a part of my team.
I still, it's the only Star Wars impression that I do. And so I'm a big fan.
So it's you and Bill Hader at this point.
Yeah. I'll take Bill. I will take him down with my Tauntaun impression. So, okay.
I might have to send you guys a picture when I get it finished off. I have a Tauntaun tattoo that I'm getting on my knee right now.
Oh, wow.
Dan Day.
Yeah,
Love that.
It's pretty massive and awesome.
That's great. Fantastic. See, now, like, I didn't pick my one of my 2 Star Wars tattoos as my Sith because I have Darth Maul on my arm.
Nice.
So
nice.
Yes, but yes. Okay.
I'm slacking. I've only got one. That's it. And I've got and here's the thing.
Keep up.
Well, I have a bunch on one arm that are non-Star Wars. I have one on this arm that is Star Wars, and I have specifically said nothing else goes on this arm other than other Star Wars tattoos, but I keep prioritizing the other arm. So clearly I need to get my act together.
See, I have a vision for the sleeve here, which would include a Captain Rex and a B-1 battle droid, which if you told me in 1999 when I had no tattoos and I didn't know what to think about tattoos in general, that I would have a freaking battle droid on my arm, I would not have believed you. But that's where we are at this point. Kelsey, you are on the clock. What do you got?
All right. I'm trying to look at these, like some of the ones that have been ticked off. I feel like I got to go to Sith, because I saw Vader off the board. Palpatine. That guy's lasted through all 3 of he was in the prequels, the original trilogy, and the sequels. So he's been all over the place. I don't know, I kind of love how campy he gets in the original trilogy and also the prequels. He's really fun, and how can you just not pick Palpatine?
He is the mustache twirling classic baddie that and what's so wild is, again, if you think about the original trilogy, we knew nothing about him. All we knew was that he was just this really evil. All we knew, he was just evil. He was evil in a black cloak. And then in the prequels, we understood where he came from. And then to understand that he just wouldn't even give up when he was dead. It's really interesting to see.
Oh yeah, just some of the goofy moments with him are just some of my favorite in the entire series. Unlimited power, just one of the best line deliveries ever.
It's so true. It's really it's funny. Okay, Nick, you are on the clock.
I am back up. All right, we're going to jump in and we're going to round out a category. We're going to round out the Rebel category. I'm ready to pick my Rebel. We've got to put Mon Mothma in here. There's so much leadership, strength, power. Leia's off the board, Hera's off the board. The leader of the Rebels, if it's not Leia, is Mon Mothma. There's a lot of strength there. I'm feeling good about that.
Are you just picking that because you have a female on?
I was going to say, we have the all female head to head. Wow.
Leia was in my Rebel list, and she got taken when Pete took her, so I had to mark that off my list. I marked off. Wait, hold on. Who was the other one? Because
I feel like this is so the wife is an unhappy pick. I don't know.
Nope. This is a legitimate pick, 100%. Because I love what we get of Mon Mothma in Endor, but one of my favorite Mon Mothma things ever also is in Rebels when she does the speech with Saw Gerrera and that whole thing where they have the face off. That's badass. Like that's a good 2 minutes of Star Wars storytelling. So it's a legit
really
pick.
is. That's a good pick. Okay, Kelsey, what do you got?
All right. I feel like I've waited long enough to like keep her under since you guys are referencing having females on the team, I think I gotta pick Dr. Aphra for my smuggler.
Oh man.
Look at that.
I mean, like, how could I not like her? She's basically Indiana Jones in space, and then she's super tatted. I mean, that's my girl right there. Like, she's snarky, she's smart. It just everything that I would like in a person is Dr. Aphra.
I feel like, you know, instead of make Solo 2 happen, make Dr. Aphra happen, man. Let's get her. Give her. Can you think of a better? Like, look, that was one of the things that really worked for Mando in season 1 was it felt like Adventure of the Week, which was really cool.
Yeah.
Give me an Adventure of the Week of Dr. Aphra just going after some crazy artifact somewhere and running it. Yeah, she could run into Vader and she could run into the Empire and the Hutts and whatever. But it's just begging to be made. And I wish Lucasfilm would focus on give us a fun series. I don't need it to be part of like expanding the canon. I don't need to expand what happened here or there. Just go have some fun with Dr. Aphra. I am with you on that 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like she has all the charisma that you want out of like a Han Solo, and she, like, I think she's interesting enough that she could carry a week-to-week series more than like, I mean, I love Mandalorian, but he doesn't talk,
Right.
and so it's like having her drive that narrative. I feel like would have been a really good move.
Which I don't know if you know, and if you haven't had her on, you should. We'll make the connection. But Heather Antos was one of the creators of her at Marvel Comics, and the reason Dr. Aphra was created, one of the reasons, was because she was in a comic with Vader, and since Vader didn't say much, and he was this brooding kind of dude, they needed a voice, and Aphra came out of that, which is so awesome. And Heather's a wonderful person.
I've read a few of those Vader comics, but I do love like seeing her solo bits. I mean, a lot of the characters she has like surrounding her are just great too. So I mean, I hope that they bring it to live action. Hopefully, we see it like sooner rather than later, because I think it would really help drive like people back to Star Wars.
I think so too, because you can leave all your preconceived notions behind and just have a weekly fun adventure and caught somewhere between Indiana Jones and Lara Croft, and just bam, let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. So my next pick is going to be, I'm going to Jedi at this point because I've been debating it. I was thinking, is it Qui-Gon? Is it Soul? Is it who's the guy? It doesn't matter. Obviously, maybe it was Ki-Adi-Mundi, but it's not. It's somebody who I can't believe has not been picked for anything else yet, and that's Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker is my Jedi, and although you could argue that, was he really a Jedi? Like, did he? He was a Jedi before, like my father before me, but I'm going to put him in as a Jedi because he was the last Jedi for at least a couple, films, and so Luke Skywalker is the Jedi that I am putting in for mine, and we have closed off that category as well. So Jedi is off the board, and Rebel is off the board. Not surprisingly, if you think about what Star Wars is about, it's about Rebels and Jedi. So before we start up again for the next round, Kelsey's team consists of Han Solo, Harrison Dula. This is like 3 badasses at the top there. Then you got Yoda, the king of the Jedi, and you got Darth Sidious, the king of the Sith, and Grand Admiral Thrawn, who just, how can you not think, just an ultimate Imperial. For Nick, he's got Mon Mothma for his Rebel. He's got Lando as his Smuggler. Obi-Wan as his Jedi. Tough to beat Obi-Wan. R2 and the Droid. Classic Trooper type, and Tauntaun for Creature. And I have Leia for my Rebel. I got Luke for my Jedi. I got Vader for my Sith. I got Boba Fett for my Hunter. Sounds like my action figure collection from when I was a kid. I got the Millennium Falcon, and I've got Chopper for my droid. So we are ready to begin sort of the second half of the draft here We have 6 of the 11 positions filled, and we're going to kick off with Kelsey. Kelsey, where are you going?
I'm looking at my draft board, and this is tough. I feel like because I didn't know that ships were going to be taken this early. I don't know. Like I thought that was the flex position. I could leave it until later. I kind of want the ghost.
You go with the ghost?
Yeah, it's like I have Hera. I might as well get the ghost.
Right. I'm with you. Imagine Han Solo and Hera at the wheel of the ghost. That's a story I want, actually. Give me that.
I don't know. I think I'd defer to Han. I mean, he is very crafty, but I don't think Hera would be down for that. I don't think she'd be in the mood for his kind of I don't know, his antics.
Hera's bringing enough space mom energy that she's like, don't touch that. No.
Yeah.
That's not your chair.
Whereas Lando was pissed off that Han destroyed the Falcon, she wouldn't put up with it. She'd be like,
"Oh yeah,
correct.
You're done."
Yeah, you can go to timeout. Go back to the back.
Go back to the back. You're out. All right. So I am going to go. I'm looking at where there's some openings here. We still have an Imperial in the opening, so I'm going to go with. I have to go with Grand Moff Tarkin for my Imperial. Again, keeping
that
with
surprises me so much.
Really? Does it?
Yes. I can't believe you didn't pick Krennic.
He's my favorite character, but I feel like when I think of
guy.
Krennic is my favorite Star Wars character in the Disney era. But Grand Moff Tarkin is just, he embodies what the Empire is to me. Just that sort of like cold-hearted, thick, biting British accent, the hand on the, he's more the Empire than Vader to me. So I'm throwing Tarkin up there for.
I didn't realize we're taking what would be popular over our favorites, though. I'm like,
but I will say this:
Pete's playing the points game now.
But I'm also
he's like, what would the fans want? All right,
yeah. What are people going to vote on? Yeah, we see you, Pete.
Will this get us more views? I don't know.
Right, I am the clickbait of fantasy draft.
No.
Kelsey, I'm playing with. Look, you missed our trivia contest, which was hosted by Arda, and I got my ass kicked. So I am not letting that happen again. I lost my fan.
He's playing catch up now. Yeah.
Okay. He's like, I swear I'm a Star Wars fan. Please,
look, the Millennium Eagle, is that what it is?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
What is that thing called? Who's this Darth Yogurt? All right. Well, Pete, this is the perfect timing because
yes.
Is it my pick? Is that right?
It is.
Did you not take yourself off that board? Okay.
No, I
Benny chimed in the chat. How has no one picked Carson Teva, good friend of the show? My pilot pick is Carson Teva, Paul Sen-Young Lee himself. Talk about a character who shows up in these little tiny glimpses as we start in Mandalorian, we grow across. He's in Ahsoka. I think he's got big stuff in front of him for the movie. And as a person, Paul has been on with us multiple times. We love that guy. He is my pilot pick, 100%.
All right. That's a great pick. And for no other reason, just because, as you said, Paul is the man. Paul is just such a great guy. And
again, we just unboxed it last week, but we've got the Carson Teva. We've got the Gentle Giant, hanging out right here in the background. That's cool. Benny's reading my mind. That's what we see here.
All right. I am on my pick. I'm going to close out pilots, and I'm going to go with the best co-pilot in the galaxy, Chewbacca, the giant Wookiee. The again from Solo: A Star Wars Story, because I just watched it. 200 years old. Yeah, you look great. So I love that, and he can rip the arms off of anybody else on this board at this point. So,
all right, we're back to me again.
All
right, so we're going to close out another category. Let's knock out Sith.
Okay.
There's some tough choices in here. We've got Sidious, we've got Vader. I mean, where do you fall in the midst of that? I think there's really only one good answer that's left.
Yep.
Pete, he's tattooed on your body. Our friend Corey, the Buttercream Dream, says it in the video. He looks like the devil. It's Darth Maul. That's got to be my Sith pick for sure.
It's a great pick. Look at that. You have them all there. I mean, who else is there? I mean, you could have gone with like
somebody I don't know, like
right,
Revan
somebody
or Revan or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, like I mean, I feel like Revan is like a cool pick there. Like there's like Plagueis, but like Maul, like he has so much more depth to him, especially with like the animated series. Like some of the stuff you see in there is incredible.
Yes. Yeah, I said
honestly, Maul's blind rage only focused on Kenobi over a long period of time sold me on that character way more than anything that happened.
Have you ever hated someone so much like that you're like, I could be Maul and Kenobi?
I get
Like,
it. Yep, exactly. I could be that guy.
Yeah.
Screaming in a desert. That's the name. That's the guy.
Yeah, you know, I said it somewhere on somebody's show at some point. It wasn't our own, but to me, I feel like Maul is like the Joker of Star Wars, and that like the Joker was so hell bent on taking down Batman, like
Just
that
Batman.
became more important than anything else. And I mean, as we saw in those last episodes of Clone Wars, he was just there to create chaos, and that was really awesome. And I do have to admit, because there was that lull in Star Wars when I didn't watch Clone Wars when it was originally running, and I remember reading online like "Ain't It Cool News" or something that Darth Maul was coming back. I was like, oh come on, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And my goodness, Dave Filoni is amazing at bringing that character back. So
yeah.
All right, Kelsey, you are on the clock.
All right, this one I feel like I have to take at this point just so it doesn't get taken by someone else because it's my team name, the Bantha. I mean, I went the Bristol Banthas. I mean, it's just like a fun like creature anyway. I mean, they look amazing with their giant like I don't know like spiral horn type thing. Like they're pretty awesome. So. I mean, I feel like that's a solid pick all around.
I think that's
you're not wrong. And honestly, they were actually my number one creature pick. And at the last second, I decided to make like a last minute. The call came in. We made a trade. We made a something.
Thank you.
And I went Tauntaun. I went with that gut. Told me go with Tauntaun. So you're not wrong with your Bantha pick.
Thank you for leaving them on the board for me.
Just here to help. That's all.
That's why you're here, Nick. It's your call. What do you got?
It is my call. And we're at the point where we're starting to close this thing down. We're starting to wrap up, what are the things we're working with? I'm jumping into Bounty Hunter.
Okay.
I haven't picked a Bounty Hunter. Pete, you have, the only one so far. I'm going with, this is a newer pick. This is a fresh pick. And it was tough. It was a toss-up. I'm going Din Djarin. I'm going the Mandalorian himself. That's my Bounty Hunter pick.
That's a good call. I think it's
does his business, does his job. He's like the Jim Tomey of this thing. Like he's showing up, he's hitting things. He doesn't really care if you worry about what his workout routine is. He's just here to do work, get paid, and go home.
I like that. That's a good call. Kelsey, what do you got for your next pick?
All right. I mean, if we're gonna stay in the bounty hunter category, I might as well because I think we've got 3 left.
Yep.
I'm gonna go with Embo. My other like big fandom is 007, and I feel like Embo's like kind of like the odd job of like the galaxy. I mean, he throws his hat and like kills people with it. It's pretty awesome. I even have the Spectre ring on my hand right there. So Embo is my pick.
That's a good call. I like that one. That's a rarity, but a good one. I think that's a really cool one. And it's on me. So I got to go with do I go Smuggler at this point, or do I go? I'm going to go Trooper type, because I still have a little competition on that one. So I have to go Scout Trooper, just because as a kid, when that Scout Trooper showed up in Return of the Jedi, it changed everything and became my favorite Trooper helmet for a while. But I'm actually a classic Trooper guy myself. I do love some of the Troopers that we got in Solo. But Scout Trooper is just, and they had more personality than Stormtroopers also. So I really was a big fan of those. So. All right. Kelsey, what do you got?
All right. I'm going to go Droid for my second to last pick. I'm going to go 000. I mean, he's also another Dr. Aphra one, but he's so sadistic and like super fun. I feel like there's not like a more evil droid than 000. Like I
Yeah.
kind of love like when you see like how much joy this like inanimate being is having torturing someone. Like it's kind of crazy. Like I don't know, I love him. So 000 is my next pick.
What does it say about us that if you look at our droid picks, they probably have a higher body
They're all the
count
murderers.
than maybe.
I don't need this 3PO nonsense. I don't need the noble R5D4.
Right.
I want somebody who's gonna fuck somebody up.
I like that. That is great. Okay, I am going to take for my second last pick for my smuggler. I'm going to take Hondo Inaka.
Look at that.
Just because I know I'm spelling his name wrong, but I'll figure it out later. But I that's a character. I think we need to see him in live action, and I think we could see him in Skeleton Crew. I think he could still be around. We don't know how long those dudes
some
live.
Piracy. There's some funky things going on.
Yeah, I would love to see that. So give me some Hondo.
I do love that pick. I don't know if have you been to Galaxy's Edge? Have
Yes.
you seen like Hondo up there?
He
like
has. I have not.
Oh,
Yep.
amazing. I mean, that's one of the coolest animatronics I've ever seen. Plus, one of my favorite like Disney characters growing up was Pooh Bear. And Hondo and Pooh Bear are voiced by the same person. So it's pretty awesome. It's Jim Cummings.
It's kind of
Jim Cummings, so great.
Kind of strange, but yeah, it's wonderful that way.
Oh,
so.
I love his range. I mean, like incredible.
For sure. Absolutely. Okay, Nick, you have two to choose from. You can either choose Imperial or a ship. Where are you going?
We're going ship. And we're coming down to the wire here. There's some excellent choices taken off the board. I'm going X-Wing, man. You can't not choose an X-Wing. Like, I had another choice. It was actually on my screen. I deleted my other two, which were Millennium Falcon and Ghost. I took them off my board. I had one. My original pick was going to be the Tantive 4, Tantive, however you say that.
Yeah.
The Corellian, Leia ship, the runner. There's a lot of longevity there. It runs from the beginning. We see it in Rise of Skywalker. There's some solidity there, but it's a damn X-Wing. And like Kelsey said, it's in my logo. I'm Team Gen X-Wing, so we're rolling with it.
You got to do that.
Got to have a logo pick somewhere.
For sure. All right. And look, we've all done it now. We got the Bantha, we got the X-Wing, and we got Boba Fett. Well done, team. You've all done your job. Okay. My last pick is in the creature section. And I have a toss up between two, but I think I'm going to go with the Rancor just because speaking of stop motion and the combination of stop motion and puppetry, the Rancor was always one of my favorite things to see on screen. And, Return of the Jedi, it lives in Jabba's basement, for goodness sake. How bad could it be? So. Okay, Nick, who's your Imperial?
So this leaves me with a tough last pick to wrap up my draft, to wrap up my team. As we start to separate out, like, okay, Vader's gone, Thrawn's gone, Tarkin's gone. Like, you have some very specific Imperials, and then you have others that are kind of the crossover. They could fit in multiple categories.
Yep.
I'm going to go with a little bit of an outside the box pick.
All right.
It's probably not going to win when we have matchup week, but you never know.
Mm-hmm.
The internet's wild. Things are out there. This is my double threat guy.
Okay.
I'm going Agent Kallus before he turns.
Ooh, okay. I want to see
That's
Kallus.
my pick.
I want to see Kallus in Andor.
Yep.
I want to see Kallus in Andor.
Give me some chops. Give me somebody with, the mutton chops, the beard, the whole thing. But my Imperial pick is going to, and I love that character. I love the arc that we get for Kallus and Rebels. But I'm picking pre-turn, changing sides Rebels. I'm getting Kallus. He's my Imperial.
I like
you guys have like a live action pick for Kallus and Rebels? Like, who would you want to see?
That's a good question.
I don't even know.
When you said mutton chops, I was thinking about that dude from Walking Dead that was like he had the red hair and the crazy mutton chops.
Oh,
yeah.
I
know
like
exactly
that
what you're talking about.
a great Kallus.
Yep.
I had a weird pick for him because he's not known for having hair. Would be Jason Statham. I think he could.
Ooh, okay.
He could kind of get that kind of. He would have to be Imperial version of Kallus, not necessarily the Rebels version, but just I think he can get that kind of like sharpness to him.
If we're playing word association, because that's how my brain works, like we said, who is it going to be? And the first image that popped into my head, I'm sure recency bias because of Wolverine and Deadpool, but I went, give me Hugh Jackman with the chops as a Callus.
That would work.
That'd be pretty cool. I mean, I would love to see Hugh Jackman in a Star Wars flick. Like,
for sure.
Amazing.
That would be awesome. Okay, Kelsey, the last pick is to you. You had the first. You started us off with Han Solo and pissed us all off, and now is your chance to. That's okay.
Hold on. I'm sorry. Gilster may have nailed it. Nikolai Coster-Waldau, Jaime Lannister from Game of Thrones. Put some chops on him and give him Callus.
There's your
That's
win.
outstanding.
You know what? That's amazing fan casting. Yeah.
I'm gonna think on that one for a minute for sure.
I think that's
all right.
That's it. All right, it's trooper type, Kelsey.
All right. I'm looking at my board. I think I'm gonna go purely based on looks, and I'm just gonna pick like just kind of the outfit. This is for Clint, like our guy, our fashion guy on the show.
Yeah, our fashion guy.
Yeah, Shadow Troopers. Because I mean, I feel like their sleek black armor goes well in any setting. Like, very fashion forward, looks great next to any Imperial. Like, how do you not pick that?
Which one? The Death Troopers?
The Shadow Troopers, like the original, like black ones. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
That's a good one. That's a really good call. And those are some good teams out there. All right. So we're watching the chat. You guys have a chance to kind of weigh in here. Which team in the chat, which one?
Who's going
overall?
all the way?
Let's take a look at this. So let's start with Kelsey's team, the Bristol Banthas. You got Han Solo as your pilot. You got Hera as your rebel leader. Can't beat that. Dr. Aphra as a smuggler. Lando may be on the board, but Dr. Aphra is a much more fun pick. Yoda, the Jedi Master. Darth Sidious, the Sith Master. Embo as the bounty hunter. Really cool pick. Grand Admiral Thrawn, everybody's favorite man in blue. 000, who's just psychotic. And if we get Dr. Aphra, he's got to be there. He's got to be in there. He's got to have his Wolverine claws and his black armor. We need that. Shadow Trooper as the trooper type. Bantha for the creature. And the Ghost, my favorite ship, the only ship that I have two different models of somewhere here in my crazy office. Love those picks. Nick has, for his pilot, he's got Carson Teva. He's got Mon Mothma as a rebel, which I'm going to say it, Nick. Sorry, buddy, but it's the worst pick in the draft. Worst pick.
I was going to say, honestly, as you were saying that before those words came out of your mouth, I caught shade in the chat for that pick. Brian Fennessy said, hold on, where did it go? He said it. Yeah, Fennessy hit me up. I don't know. I lost it. Oh, he said, as much as I love Genevieve O'Reilly, that's not who I picked. So,
it's not a good pick.
Yeah,
but you made up for it with your smuggler, because once Han Solo was off the board, there was only one other pick, and that was Lando. The Jedi is Obi-Wan. Good call. I mean, that was the first Jedi we ever met. Good call there.
Yep.
Darth Maul as your Sith. Gotta love him. Din Djarin as the bounty hunter. Could take the lead just because of the fact that recency bias, people know him, people love him. Plus, he's a daddy and he's a badass. Speaking of daddies and badass, you got Agent Callus. Interesting call. R2D2 is your droid. I love our picks, but R2 is the man. Trooper, classic. Tauntaun, love that creature. What a great design. And an X-Wing for the ship. My team, the Boba Fett's, for pilot, I took Chewbacca. I took Leia for my rebel. Hondo was where I was kind of stuck with my smuggler. Thank you very much, Kelsey. Jedi, Luke Skywalker, the return of the Jedi, the last Jedi. My Sith is Daddy Sith, Darth Vader. Boba Fett is my bounty hunter. Grand Moff Tarkin is my Imperial. Chop is my droid. Scout Trooper, just from the heart for that one for me. Creature is Rancor, which, by the way, would eat anybody else on this board. And, of course, for my ship, I got lucky by picking it early and went with the Millennium Falcon. Hard to disagree with that. What does the chat think? What do you guys think? Who had the best pick?
Well, I feel like Matthew's got like the best comment so far. Like, yeah, what are you doing, Nick?
Mon Mothma is I'm taking a kicker. And honestly, I just finished a rewatch of The League, which is one of my favorite TV shows. It's a great TV show. And Taco in the he's like, I want to pick 12 kickers. Like, yeah, you may be right, but you know what? I say what I say, and I stand by my girl Mon Mothma.
I don't know. I feel like that might have been like a wife or kid influence there. Like, come on, man.
No, I can assure you, in my house, nobody gives a shit except me. So that was all me.
To answer Benny Relp, yeah, we did drop Flex, but we replaced it with Ship. Which of course we didn't tell Kelsey until she got online here. So that's, but I think Ghost is still a good call. I think again, in the voting, depending on who's online that day, Ghost could pop up above the Falcon. It's really interesting
with either one of those.
So when I realized that you guys had flexed the Ship, like when I got on here, my original flex was going to be either Grogu or because I was thinking Grogu has to be in mine. Like I was gonna pick like a very cute looking team.
Yeah.
And then I went like just scruffy dudes all around, I guess.
You went like the opposite of cute. You went like
yeah. I don't know. Han Solo's pretty cute in my mind, so it's all right. But no, I think I was gonna go like either Grogu or like Babu Frick as my flex.
Yeah.
I love Babu. Like he's hilarious.
Yeah, I think next year we put Flex back in, but it's sort of like cute Flex, and it's got to be the cutest creature, and you got to go because you got Ewoks in there, you got
Porgs.
Porgs. Yeah, I mean it's
Cat, Ewok. I mean, there's options galore.
I mean, we debated Ewoks were not allowed as critters in our draft.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, because it has to be like basically a non-sentient or like language speaking like species.
Okay.
And they do have their own language.
That's true. Yeah, you'll appreciate this, Kelsey. When so my son's first Star Wars movie experiences were the sequels, just because of his age and what was out there. And then we watched Indiana Jones a couple of weeks after that. And my son, who at the time was 5 or 6, said about Indiana Jones, he goes, he looks like a young Han Solo. So what was funny about that to me was that was a young, no, Indy was always like older Han Solo to me, but that's a young Han Solo.
So I don't want to do this, but I feel like I have to now that it's come up, and especially because Kelsey talked about her love of Indiana Jones, which obviously is my easily 1A, 1B to Star Wars. I've got the medallion in the background. I've got my hat over here. Like I've got a couple of things. So my version of that, Pete, is, and I think you've heard me the story. I have twins. They're 16 years old now. 6 or 7 years ago, when they were 8, 9, 10, they grew up watching the stuff that Dad watches. One of my twins was obsessed with Han Solo. The other twin was obsessed with Indiana Jones. But neither one of them made the connection that it was the same actor because they're 7, 8, 9 years old. And so my wife and I even made the joke at one point. We're like, we should let them have a Harrison Ford birthday party for their 10th birthday. Come as your favorite Harrison Ford. But like the day they both were like, holy shit, that's the same guy. Like you could hear the light bulbs going off. And so, and again, as a parent, I'm like, I've done my job here. I've done everything I need to.
I do approve the Harrison Ford birthday party. In college, I threw both a Harrison Ford birthday like theme as a party at my house, and also a Robert Downey Jr. birthday as a theme. Those are my 2 big contributions to party culture at Michigan State.
Well done.
All right, so I got to ask then, how do you feel about RDJ coming back as Doom? I know that's not Star Wars, but
I just hope that they don't ruin like the send-off that he got as Iron Man. I mean, the whole reason why I became a RDJ fan, my mom, like when I was growing up, liked watching Ally McBeal. And so like, I mean, between Harrison Ford and Robert, I was like, I'm a straight woman looking at those dudes on TV. I was like, wow, yep, those ones. And so like when I grew up reading Iron Man comic books, and then so when he got cast as Iron Man, I was like, this is perfect, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And so I'm scared that they're going to like hurt the legacy that he's built within the MCU. I mean, because it was like a great, like, I don't know, like decade or so.
Yeah.
With that, that saying, I mean, if they do it tastefully, and I mean, he's an amazing actor, I think he can nail any role that he's put in. So
Yeah.
I guess we'll kind of see what they do story wise. I just hope that they don't just completely ignore the send off that he had in Endgame.
Yeah, I'm with you. My feeling though is very much I have confidence in the guys doing those movies. And so if it was, I feel like Marvel may have sort of, I'm hoping they righted the ship. It's really hard to say after just one or two movies, but if they to your point, if they take it seriously and they do it well, I think it'll be great. He's going to be able to kill it as whatever he plays, but oh my gosh, it's a little stressful. Yeah.
I think some of my favorite stuff to come out of Comic-Con though was Harrison Ford having to answer nerdy questions. He hates that so much, and it makes me happy every time I see it.
Yep.
I'm like, they're still dragging him through this, and they know he's not going to perform in the way that they want him to, and they keep making him do it.
Yeah.
I think, I went to San Diego Comic-Con like in like 2014 or whatever, and he was like promoting Ender's Game.
Yeah.
And someone went up and asked him, like, hey, who shot first, Han or Greedo? And he's like, I am never effing coming here again. And I remember, like, I think you can still hear on the recording my like scream laugh in the back. Like, it's incredible.
I have to go and look for that.
So
That's
great.
awesome.
Yeah.
That is
I
great.
appreciate that energy out of him.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Kelsey, thank you so much for hanging out with us for much more time than we sort of tricked you into doing. We really, really appreciate it. And this was a ton of fun on the conversation. We're going to tag you every week to week. We're going to watch the standings and watch Nick's Mon Mothma pick tank him one week.
Down in flames. Just all the way down.
But Nick, who do we have on the show next week? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
I should have asked you that.
It's going to be a surprise for you, me, and everybody.
Everybody
That's
else.
right.
But we do have a guest
we
next
will
week.
have
I
a
know
show
that
next
for sure.
week, regardless of who it is.
Yes, and for those of you keeping track at home, we are now going on at 9 on Thursdays till probably through the end of the year, just because of some scheduling issues here in the Pete in the Seat studios here in Fletchertown, New Jersey. But that's all we have going on. Kelsey, thank you for joining us. And Nick, may the force be with you.
Sir. Always.
Just one more round, friend, then homeward bound, friend. Don't forget me in your dreams. Just one more song, friend, and then so long, friend. The nights get shorter, it seems. Just one more rhyme, friend. Yes, it's a crime, friend. But you know time, friend. Time can fly. So it's good night, friend. Good night, but not goodbye.